Welcome back to my channel. This is Graceful Art Designs. This is a painting of a peacock, which is going to be different to the last one. The last one I blew out an acrylic pour in different colors, green and blue, over a black canvas. This one I've poured out the black, I've blown it out, I've covered the sides using this little metal spatula type thing. And it's easy to use. You just pick up the paint that drips over and you cover the sides. Like there I can see there's a little bit of white patch showing, so I'll just cover that. You could use your finger if you have a glove on. I don't like using my fingers. I don't like to get too messy, especially with such dark colors. But there's, I can see some more white shining through here, so I'll just pick up the paint that I blew off. The plastic was clean. I peeled off the old paint from my previous paintings. Most of it peeled off because this is quite thick plastic, but some of it was too thin, and then I just wiped it away with a wet wipe. The size I didn't bother about because I'm not going to pick up from the front here. So that's that, and I'll bring you back when it's dry, and then I will show you how I'm going to paint a lovely metallic painting of silver, gold and copper. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Graceful Art Designs. This is the canvas that I covered with black acrylic pour, and it makes a nice finish to do a painting on. Better than painting it with a brush in acrylic. That it just doesn't give a nice cover, I don't think anyway. But I found that I couldn't use a crayon. I wasn't going to draw anything on. I thought I'd just draw on with a paintbrush. And then I thought, no, I'm using metallic colors. If I mess up with them, I won't be able to cover them except with black, and that's not going to look really nice. So I sketched it on with a acrylic marker, a silver acrylic marker, because my crayons were not showing up at all. But I didn't go into too much detail. I didn't put the eyes on as I did in the previous painting. I'm using, and this is a different view of the peacock. This is a side view, so his tail feathers are on the sides and fanned out, and you don't see them standing behind him as in the previous painting. So I haven't put in the background. I'll do that afterwards. I first want to get the peacock in himself. And so I had a look at the numbers, and the last brush I used was a 6 filbert, and it was just too big. So now I've got a 2, but it's also too long. I need a shorter, flatter brush, and I don't have one. And not a new one. I've got old ones, but they're so rough. And then this one is also a 2, but a flat brush. So I'll see which one I should use. I'm going to try it with the flat brush first and then see. Maybe I'll just use this one for the eyes, I'm not sure. Anyway, I've mixed up the, well, I haven't mixed up the paints. I've just put the paints, instead of on a palette, I've just used the lid of the jar of water that I'm going to use. And I've got 4 colors, all metallics. Silver. This is the bronze, which I like because it's almost like a pink gold, like a rose gold. And then this is the copper, and this is the gold, and all Amsterdam paints. And I haven't used the Amsterdam silver before. I'm going to start with the silver, see how it comes off on this canvas. And well, I'll take it from there. And I'm having a really bad idea, seeing double, triple. Not really sure what I'm seeing. So it is kind of a line drawing, I guess. But these lines will be a little bit thicker. And so I'll do I'll do part of the outline in the silver, and then use another color for the other part. because I'm not sure if I'm going to carry the colour over into the body of the bird. Anyway, while I've got the silver on, let me just do the outline of this eye. And maybe the head. So that's briefly where I'm going, and I'll bring you back in the next clip. So this is what I've done so far. I've outlined that part of the body in silver, and the head and the eye. I'll do these little feathers in gold on the head. They each have a little tiny eye on them at the top. And then this part will also be silver. So I'll make his legs in gold. Well, the silver marker still shows through. These paints are all, I don't know, either semi-transparent or transparent. Yeah, no matter what they say. If they are on black and they're not covering, then it means that that's what the bronze is semi-transparent. The copper, semi-transparent. Gold, semi-transparent. And the silver, semi-transparent. So it all came to be semi-transparent, for they're more transparent than semi. Anyway, so I'm going to do the body here of the feathers, the quills in gold. I like the effect of the gold. But it's also, it doesn't adhere very well to the canvas. Not the way it does in acrylic pours. It's completely different in a pour. That's a bit better. That I don't like at all. Anyway, I'll continue and I'll bring you back when there's more to see. So since I wasn't getting the effect that I wanted, I wasn't getting straight lines with the side of the brush, I'm just going like that and just making them thick feathery lines. So that will actually just provide the feathery background as well for the eyes. And I think that will look nice. That also just adds a bit more colour to the canvas. So then I'll do the eyes in copper, silver and bronze. And just still thinking about what to do about the body. It's just not adhering here. And I've never done a painting like this before. Just like a line drawing in metallics. So I guess there's a first for everything. And I think that looks quite nice. I mean, so I won't have to put feathers in there. I mean, little feathers. And it didn't cover up the legs very well, but maybe I'll need to use 2 or 3 colours in the legs. Maybe I'll bring you back when I have more to show. Well, since I'm so undecided, I decided that in my indecision, I would just add little feathers in here, in the silver parts, and then little feathers in the bronze part, and see how that looked. And if it doesn't look like anything, then I will just change them into solid silver. The problem is that I have already made these outlines so thick. So, and even though it's such a small brush, it comes off quite thick. I've really cleaned off the brush quite a bit so as not to leave too much paint on. But okay, so that's how it's looking. I like that effect more. Of course, once I do that, then that's how it will have to stay. Unless I would have to cover it up with black, and I don't want to do that. So I'll see, maybe I'll just do, this and then see and let it dry, because as always, it might dry darker, it might dry brighter. I might need to add another layer. I really thought it would contrast strongly against the black, but these metallics are very, very soft. Very, that's coming off too thick. Okay, so now I'll clean my brush and do the bronze. So the second layer helped. So I did more sort of softer feathery movements with the brush, and I prefer this look. So I think I'll change the silver to the same. I think it just looks nicer. Yeah, I think I'm trying to make them so tiny, it just wasn't working. I hope they are not now so dry that they won't move. This paint moves. The paint dries so quickly. Huh? Almost as you put it down, it's dry. So I think that looks nicer. And a little bit more on the head. And then I need to attempt to put the eyes in the tail. So I'll try 1 or 2 and then I'll bring you back.